Hi, my name is Nick Broughton and I'm a Randomfish. Hit that subscribe button and let's all be random fishes together, shall we? So I've been talking about fan films a lot over the past few reviews. That's going to come to an end this week. I'm going to focus on other things now. I was going to today talk about Sonic the Hedgehog, the film. However, I'm going to leave that for a little bit later on. You might get 2 videos over the next coming week or so. This one I wanted to talk about today is the final in my fan film fanaticisms, and it's not on YouTube. It's a fan film that it's not even a film. It's a fan series, if you will. Back in the beginning of the 2000s, or around like the very early 2000s anyway, Mark Wahlberg stepped forward and declared himself that he was going to be a badass. He was going to make a series based off of his exploits in Hollywood along with his friends and everything else. That series very famously became known as Entourage. Yeah, I'm talking about Entourage. How best to describe this show? It was like Marky Mark attempted to create a fan series about about what his life was like, you know, with some creative ideas and things thrown in, but taking it in a different direction to how he was, blah blah blah, that's fine. But the series took on a different life of its own. And I never understood exactly how much this show really reflected the insanity or the make-believe, if you will, of the Hollywood life. Now, let's get one thing straight. Entourage as a series, it grew, and there were fans of it. That's why it ever had a fan base to start with. You know, it wasn't as if it was a bad show or anything like that, but it had its own fan base at that point. But while it started off, like I said, as a Marky Mark fan thing, it changed. It became its own unique thing. And for those of you who don't know, this is the basics. There's a guy called Vince, and he's hot shit. Or at least he was hot shit. At the start of the very first season, he's an actor who's got a part in a film. The film is premiering. His whole life is, you know, it's all up. Oh my god, this is amazing. You know, you're this amazing actor and everyone loves you. Oh my god, so much. You know, there's women who want to sleep with him. There's guys who want his autograph. There's agents who want to represent. You know, there's people who want scripts for him to read, and all this sort of thing. And it's very much that's the start of the show. Alongside Vince, we have his entourage. Eric Murphy, or E, as he's apparently called in the show. Okay, whatever. Who is his personal manager and is one of his best friends. His brother, who is also an attempted celebrity, called Johnny Chase, or Drama, as his nickname is. And Drama is... He's a kind of like a failed TV actor. He was on TV for a long time during a show called what was called Viking Quest in the show. I've done all of this by looking it up on Wikipedia, mostly. I have had to watch the show to understand this a little bit. But Johnny has been he's not done a lot of, like, you know, continuous television. He's become that celebrity who's sort of fade away. His lights faded away after a very long time, and he's, you know, just sitting there on a simmer. He's not in hard flame on mode, if you will, to use the Marvel comic book reference. And then the other one is a guy called Sal, or Turtle. Everyone has nicknames, with the exception of Vince. They all seem to have nicknames for some weird-ass reason. I guess this is what happens when you're 4 guys growing up together and you basically do nothing but live together, and, you know, it kind of looks like it kind of is just like a gigantic American college style frat house. It was weird. Vince is kind of the ultimate incarnation of only the pretty boy. He very much sort of turns up and says a few lines. He smiles. He has sex with some random girl, either off-screen or on-screen, depending entirely on what season you're even in. Weird. At which point you then get some very weird moments with him, because as the seasons progress, he develops much more of a, how do I put it, more of a straight man personality, I guess, the best way to put it. But he still acts. The show has very limited character development. And when I say little character development, I mean almost this much to none. This much to none. It's weird. I mean, I don't even know if I can actually even say development, really. I mean, they don't exactly change. It's kind of like the world's worst sitcom. Because at least in sitcoms, you have the benefit or the knowledge of knowing that they live in their own little screwed up universe, that everything goes right back to normal at the end of every episode. That's fine. Sitcoms can go over there. I don't mind that. That's a separate universe. That's where likes of Big Bang Theory or Two and a Half Men or Full House exist, or Fuller House if you really want to piss someone off. Those shows exist over there. That is fine. I have no issue with any of them. Over here, on the other hand, is Entourage, a show that very much goes, we're changing the characters, we're giving them something different, we're giving them something to go with, something very cool, something very strong, something very powerful that will actually hit them properly, and then the next season is just gone. Just gone. Not a chance. What the fuck? Seriously, what the hell? The most obvious one I can create for that is the characters themselves, like the four main dudes, along with kind of like the fifth main dude, who is Vinny's agent, Ari Gold. He's the guy that goes out and gets the scripts or like gets the projects that Vince wants and all this sort of thing. Whilst E is kind of like his manager, so he makes sure that he gets to places on time or helps him sort of get through certain things at certain points. That's fine. Ari kind of has an interesting story arc, but that's more in the final seasons than it is in the earlier seasons. So the early seasons, kind of what I'm focusing on, because they're the ones where a lot of this stuff happens. And it's hilarious. And everyone talks about how Entourage was this, Entourage to most people was either a fun show that people actually enjoyed watching. Some people must have enjoyed watching because it lasted for 8 bloody seasons. And then there was loads of other people that just went, this sucks. Why is this on our screens? Oh my god, this is insulting me as a human being, blah, 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 blah. And I'm kind of in both camps. I know this show is basically garbage. It is awful. It is poppycock. Basically. This show is weird. It is pointless. It is an assault on my senses as a normal thinking, breathing, feeling human being. But at the same time, it's virtually harmless. Because this show is what is referred to as the ultimate... This is what I personally think of the show. Anyone else who agrees with me, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. But this show is kind of like the ultimate virtual reality helmet. Even better, because none of it affects you. You can sit and watch an actor and his friends go through all the ups and downs of Hollywood with a fantasy version of Hollywood that actually makes things more interesting than it actually is. For example, you have this character E, for example, in the second season, I think it is, or possibly the first season. I'm not sure if I'm going to be honest. This is a character who meets a very attractive woman, and she instantly likes him. Like, instantly likes him. They've met once before the season started. It's fine. But they met at one point and they talked and that was it. And he remembered her this time around. And then after that they started seeing each other. And then they were dating for a while and then they break up. This is a character, this is a duo character I should say, who gets together in the second season. Breaks up sometime in the third season. Possibly the second half of the third season. Fourth season, fifth season, they're not around. They're not sort of, they're friends just about, or they're acquaintances, they're not dating or anything. Sixth season, they start talking a heck of a lot more. At which point, at the end of the sixth season, he asks her to marry him. Marry him. They were together for a very short period. What? Don't get me wrong, I understand the concept of a whirlwind romance. Believe me, I understand that concept. But at the same time, people... What? I mean, a whirlwind romance would happen if, like, say, if you dated for, say, I don't know, 6 weeks, and then you got engaged. And then you got married about 3 or 4 months later. That is a whirlwind romance. And that's beautiful. And honestly, there's a part of me that longs for something a little bit like that, because frankly, as far as I'm concerned, the idea of a whirlwind romance is a beautiful thing for a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. But this wasn't a whirlwind romance. They were together, then they broke up, and they were apart for a long time, and then he asks her to marry him. I mean, does anyone have any sense? Did they think about this at all during the writer's room? Or did they just go, we need these two to be engaged by some point in the show? Okay, well, you know, we've put them apart from each other for these couple of seasons. Oh, let's put them together in season 6. Well, we can't do that. No, it's fine. We'll put them together at the end. The audience will be fine with it. Boom! And again, from what I've been reading on Wikipedia, 7th season, they're engaged, I think. And then the 8th season, they're expecting a baby. Now again, that part I have slight issues, but not major issues, because the idea is that those two were progressing in a relationship. Have a progression in the relationship. Don't pull back and then move forward in a relationship when the progression should have happened at that point, not when you reversed things. Stop, don't do that. And this is what I mean by status quo renewal. Because when, say, an episode of Full House came to an end, and at the end of Full House you had everything going back to normal, and you know, some characters sort of saying something to the gist of going, well, I'm so glad everything's back to normal now. Yay! That's fine. Again, that exists in their own little reality. Sitcoms exist in their own little reality. This show did not return to the status quo at the end of every episode. It took the characters in a different direction. One that was actually quite cool, and one, honestly, that would have been interesting to see things progress, and then it dials it back again. Eh? What? Why? Why would they do? Why do that? I'll tell you exactly why. Because this show was in some way, it was built to create a fantasy version of Hollywood, but it was also built for one very specific reason. It was there to mirror Sex and the City. Wait for it. Sex and the City, from what I can figure out anyway, I've never seen an episode of the show, is about 4 women who live in New York, have different jobs, and they spend the entire time talking about their careers, sex, or this guy, or some random dude. 3 things that they talk about. In Entourage, we have 4, sometimes 5 guys. Maybe more depending entirely on what season you're watching. But in those seasons, they talk about getting laid, their careers, or some random chick who they want to either date or they think they just want to bang, but in actuality they want to date. Yep. Entourage is the male version of Sex and the City. Well, I mean, that was probably obvious to a lot of people. And very obvious to a lot of reviewers as well, I would have assumed. But what got me, more than anything else, wasn't that. What gets me about this show is its popularity and how it became so popular. Now granted, being on HBO definitely helped. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I think being on HBO was a massive help to that show. But at the same time, you have to wonder about why the show is popular, because another thing that people don't seem to know is that all the actors who were in the show, has anyone seen them lately? Anyone? No? My point exactly. The guy who played Vinny Chase, Adrian something, the only things I have seen him in before I watched those episodes of Entourage, is by complete happenstance The Devil Wears Prada, I think, where he played Anne Hathaway's boyfriend, or in some other film from the 90s where he played a character who was the love interest of Melissa Joan Hart. 2 things I've seen him in. 2. Shimmy, I need to borrow an old thing from the 80s or 90s. Loser. Loser. What the hell? Ah, dear. And you know what the sad thing is? I can't even get mad at the show. I can get mad at certain aspects. I can't get mad at the show. Do you know why? Because I honestly don't believe for one iota of a second that this show, at least the parts that piss me off, I don't know, I guess I know that it's not trying. It's not trying to be smart. It's not trying to be weird or unexpected to the plot or to the audience. It's not trying to subvert expectations. It's not trying to do any of that. What it is trying to do is it's trying to appeal to every frat boy, to put this in my country's context, it appears to be speaking to the guys that go out every night in a group from college or uni or something, and they go out on the pool and they spend the entire night sat together, and they never ever come home with a girl, and they always come home together, and all they do is just show each other. I generalise when I say British, because obviously that's what this is. I know this happens in other countries as well, but just from my own perspective, because that's the only thing I've really noticed. Dudes from uni or from college who go off on the pool, and then they come back with no one, and all they do is sit there and they go, yeah man, look at that, I would have crushed that girl, oh, she would have been over it, and she'd have been, oh yeah, oh, lads. Bollocks. And the only reason why any woman ever has sex with any of them in that show is because they have a famous friend, and that's it. If you lived out the Hollywood aspect of this show, it wouldn't be Sex in the City with dudes. It would just be, you know what? It would be a talk show. And it wouldn't even be a fun one. It would literally be a talk show of 4 dudes sat around talking about how they almost got a girl one night and what they would have done to that girl if they got her home, but unfortunately they didn't. So they spend the entire rest of the show just mocking each other for not actually getting girls. Literally would have been it. But you know what? I'm going to recommend watching the show to you. I am. For 2 reasons. One, yeah, you know what? 2 reasons. First reason being, if you're wanting to really scare someone, like truly mentally scar them for life, put them in front of that show. It's a good icebreaker to really break someone's brain down. Number 2, if you really, really are just looking for something, some white noise show in the background, go for it. And you know what, for a third reason, if you really are the kind of guy that enjoys that kind of show, or if you're a guy that was looking for a male version of Sex and the City, first of all, how the hell are you on my channel of all things? And secondly, go for it. Enjoy. Because frankly, no one else is going to. Well, I better get back to breaking those discs with my trusty companion. Let's have some fun. Randomfish out.